3 days after I refused to babysit so I could finally fix a cracked molar, a county worker slid a form labeled pre-removal across a table toward my daughter and asked if she understood what temporary custody meant. Evelyn went paper white, her hands shook, and for the first time in years she listened. I engineered that moment on purpose, with receipts, with witnesses, and with love that refused to confuse softness with safety, because the same week she rang my bell, set my 6-month-old granddaughter on my cold concrete step like a package, and ran back to her car for a nail appointment. I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from so I can see how far my story has reached. The doorbell rang in 2 quick, panicked bursts. I was 3 feet away tying my scarf, the paper appointment card to the dentist tucked in my sweater pocket like a permission slip from my future. The molar had a hairline crack that pulsed whenever I looked at ice water. I padded to the door with the silly paper bib already clipped loosely at the neck because I like leaving early and arriving calm. On my stoop, a stroller, a pink blanket, a milk-stained burp cloth, and my granddaughter Emily blinking up at January air. Down the walkway, my daughter was already half inside her car, shoulders hunched, eyes on the rearview like a thief who had timed the guards. Evelyn. I called. I told you, I have a dentist appointment. It's an hour, Mom, she fired back, pulling the door shut with one hand while the engine coughed awake. My gel polish is lifting and the dinner tonight is important. Please. She pronounces please like a period, not a question. She reversed so fast she clipped my mailbox with her mirror. Emily startled, and that thin, outraged cry, half squeak, half storm, shivered up her tiny body. I lifted her, and the doorbell camera's red dot winked once, recording exactly what Evelyn hoped no one would ever replay. People think neglect looks like an empty refrigerator and shadows in a hallway. Sometimes it looks like a manicure that won't wait and a mother who treats the grandmother like an extension cord, always plugged in, never tired, never busy. Sometimes it sounds like, can you just? And it's only an hour and you're retired anyway. I am 72 and very retired, thank you, but I have bones, blood pressure, and enamel. I had said no that morning for the first time in weeks, maybe months, because the crown had already been delayed twice. Because boundaries are part of love. Because I lost my husband 3 summers ago and grief taught me that if I treat my health like an optional add-on, everyone else will too. I propped the stroller inside, warmed a bottle, changed Emily, and texted the footage to Evelyn with 4 words, "You left your baby." The 3 dots never appeared. No apology. Not even a joke. Just a double-tap thumbs up, the digital equivalent of a shrug. Anger can burn wild or it can boil water. Mine boiled. It woke up my practical self, the woman who raised a daughter on alternating shifts and coupons, who read every handout they give you at clinics, who kept files with labels and dates and receipts. My friend Linda, who worked for family services for 26 years, calls it safety thinking. I call it being awake. In the dental clinic parking lot, with numbing gel settling in my gum and January doing its sharp-edged thing to the air, I dialed Linda. She's the sound of sensible shoes and honest sentences. Gladys, she answered. Everything okay? Emily was left on my stoop while Evelyn sped away, I said. I need information, not sympathy. The video? Linda asked. Doorbell caught all of it, I said. Her silence lasted 3 heartbeats. All right. Straight line time. What you described meets the threshold for neglect. I can't take reports anymore, but I can tell you the process. Don't embellish. Submit the footage. Keep every text. If a file opens, it will be because of behavior, not your anger. I am angry, I said. You're also correct, she said gently. The only question the system cares about is whether the child is safe. What happens if they open a file? They'll do a home visit. Safety plan. Parenting classes if they see a pattern. If there's immediate danger, they can move very fast. And sometimes the mother learns? I asked. Sometimes, Linda said. Sometimes they dig deeper into the hole they're standing in. Then I want the ground around my daughter to be too solid for digging, I said. No tricks. I'll stage the truth so no one can call it small. Keep this legal, keep it honest, she warned, but I heard the approval braided into her worry. I called the hotline in the space between numbing gel and the dentist's cheerful hello. The worker's voice was warm but precise, an instrument for wrong stories that could still be righted. I submitted the video. I forwarded the text. I explained I had refused babysitting for a medical appointment and my daughter left the baby anyway. When she asked if I would be available for follow-up, I said yes and added, I'm willing to keep the child any time you determine it is safer. We prefer family when possible, she said. When possible. 2 words that feel like a bridge if you build it and a cliff if you don't. Back home, I slid the printouts into a manila folder labeled Emily, safety, and tucked it in a drawer next to light bulbs and rubber bands. Evelyn returned with shiny nails and a paper cup and asked how the baby had been. Safe, I said. And not because of you. She rolled her eyes. Can we not? I'm exhausted. You will be, I said. Soon. 2 days later at 10:06 a.m., a woman with a clipboard knocked on my daughter's apartment door. Evelyn called me from the bathroom whispering like a teenager about to flunk algebra. Did you call them on me? I reported what happened, I said. That's different from calling lightning. She's looking in my fridge, Evelyn hissed. She wants to see the crib. She's making sure there's food and a safe sleep space, I said. Humiliation isn't the aim. Correction is. She said if I miss a class, I'm non-compliant, Evelyn texted later. This is your fault. I didn't reply. Silence can be a bridge people have to learn to cross without you laying down planks under their feet. Linda phoned that evening. They opened a family preservation plan. That's a nudge with teeth. Good, I said. We need both. Also, she added, there's an agency that runs pre-removal simulations. Not court, but it feels like court. It's education on purpose. If she shows up, she'll hear the words she needs before a judge ever says them. Set it up, I said. I'll get her there. Inviting your child to a scare-straight session is like inviting them to a root canal. They hear the drill, not the relief. I wrote Evelyn a note. Paper has weight that text messages don't. Evelyn. I love you. I am not your emergency exit. Emily deserves 2 parents who choose safety at every decision point. You left her on a doorstep. A consequence followed. That's not betrayal. That's gravity. There's a meeting Saturday at the Family Resource Center. It isn't court. It will feel like court. That is the point. I will drive you. If you refuse, I won't be available to watch Emily for the next 30 days, and I will inform Family Services that you opted out of safety education. Choose carefully. Mom. She responded with 3 skull emojis and, an hour later, fine. Pick me up at 9. The resource center squats behind a grocery store in a brick building painted with a mural of hands passing a heart. The conference room was too cold and smelled like coffee and dry erase markers. A laminated protective factors poster curled at the corners. The facilitator, Serena, had that steady courtroom voice that makes hotheads cool. She laid out 3 folders, one for Evelyn, one for me, and one labeled Emily B. Fictional scenario. This is a simulation, she began. It's built from real cases. Purpose is education, not punishment. We'll practice safety planning and accountability. We'll rehearse how to respond when a social worker says, we have concerns. Evelyn tried to manufacture boredom and only managed fear. Serena opened the file and read in a clear tone that sounded like my week. On January 12th, a 6-month-old infant was left unattended on a doorstep for approximately 90 seconds. Video captured the mother leaving the child and driving away. The relative caregiver reported the incident. The mother later stated she knew the grandmother was home, and it was just for an hour. The department's concern is a pattern of impulsive decision-making and an over-reliance on the grandmother for primary care. This is about me, Evelyn whispered. It's about Emily, Serena replied. We practiced a safety plan out loud. At first it felt babyish, like chore charts. It didn't feel babyish to say, I will not leave Emily without a confirmed yes from the caregiver. Or to list 3 backups with real phone numbers and permission. Or to sign, when overwhelmed, I will pause for 2 minutes and call before making a decision. Those words felt like tools I used to own and had misplaced behind old assumptions. Serena slid over a mock agenda titled Pre-Removal Conference, Sample. Evelyn recoiled as if paper could bite. I don't want this, she said. You don't want the real one, Serena answered softly. You want this. With coffee and air freshener and people who will stop you to rewind before you walk into a courtroom. I'm not a bad mom, Evelyn said, voice trembling. No one here said that, Serena replied. We're asking you to be a safer one. By the break, Evelyn had gnawed her folder edge fuzzy. By the end, she'd written a plan in block letters big enough to see across a room. In the parking lot, she leaned against my car, crying the quiet cry of adults who forgot how. I thought you were trying to take her from me. I was trying to hand her back to you, I said, with both of your hands open. The next morning Andrew called, the way people do when they sense effort they didn't provide. I heard about the class, he said. Maybe I should be part of this plan. Maybe you should be part of your daughter's life, I said, too sharp and not sorry. He surprised me by arriving with a spiral notebook and humble eyes. At Evelyn's sticky kitchen table we made a shared calendar. We wrote medical appointments in colored ink. We starred paydays. We circled rent due. We wrote, in capitals, NO last-minute handoffs. At one point Andrew looked up and said, I didn't know it was this hard. I told him, it isn't hard. It's constant. Evelyn wrote that down like a found proverb and stuck it to the fridge with an alphabet magnet. Tasha, the caseworker with the clipboard, visited Evelyn's job because the system likes to see people where they say they are. She asked for a private room and began gently. How are you doing now that you've had time to reflect? I am mortified, Evelyn said. And grateful. And defensive. But I'm here. Tasha checked boxes the way knitters pull yarn into something warm. Your neighbor, Mizan, reported hearing the baby outside before the grandmother opened the door. The neighbor? Evelyn blinked. Multiple reporters help us understand a pattern, Tasha said. It moves this out of family drama and into community, where it belongs. I had asked Mizan to tell the truth if anyone asked. I did not ask her to be kind. She was anyway. Afterward, Evelyn texted me. They came to my work. I replied, I'm proud of you. Family Services requested a home tour, and I went along as a witness with zipped lips. Emily's nursery was adorable and not useful, clothes still with tags, white noise machine in its box, baby monitor unplugged and winking at no one. Can I be honest? Tasha asked. We see this a lot. The stuff is here. The system is missing. Evelyn surprised me by nodding. I like buying things that make me look like I'm doing it right. It's easier than doing it right. We plugged in the monitor. We moved the crib away from the draft. We labeled bottles and put emergency numbers on a card by the door. Ordinary acts, brick by brick. I kept my own line. 30 days with no last-minute babysitting. I wrote it on my calendar in red. I still answered when she needed to cry. I dropped off meal containers and a pharmacy print of Emily's gummy smile. When Evelyn asked, can you watch her, I said, who else is on your list? She hated me for 2 seconds and then called Andrew, who surprised himself by saying yes. At night, I lay awake wondering if I had gone too far. Then I rewatched the clip of a pink blanket on cold concrete, and the doubt folded itself away like a shirt. A letter on county letterhead arrived inviting Evelyn to a family team meeting. Not court. Not pre-removal. A circle in a room with a whiteboard where your words get written big enough to confront you. Evelyn sent a photo of the envelope. Is this what I think it is? I answered. It's your chance to prove what you're becoming. She arrived with her hair in a bun and a new respect for paper. What do you want to be different in 30 days? Tasha asked. I want everyone who loves Emily to sleep at night, Evelyn said. We wrote a routine that looked like soup. Simple ingredients done right, bottles labeled, bag packed the night before, a card by the knob that read, did you buckle the baby? We scheduled her parenting class and treated attendance like a job. At the end, Tasha held the plan up. This is your map, she said. Follow it and we close your case. Boundaries are mirrors. In their shine, I saw a version of myself I didn't like. I liked being indispensable because it felt like applause, and applause is easier than wisdom. The plan forced me to say later and mean it. I booked my mammogram and a follow-up dental visit without asking my calendar if anyone else might need me more. I taught Evelyn my trick of laying out the diaper bag each night and then let her do it wrong once, so she would do it right her way next time. We called the new life Project Emily and taped the plan to the fridge with a letter E magnet she liked because it looked like steps. There was one more piece of theater because I know my daughter's language. We hosted an educational night in the church basement. Linda and Serena came and introduced themselves honestly, former social worker, facilitator, and explained what a guardian ad litem and a supervisor would do in a real case. The name tags were real. The content was education. The tone was serious enough to make impulse shrink. Evelyn walked in, saw the slide that read if/then, how systems respond, and the blood left her face. If you leave a child unattended, then a mandated reporter files, Serena said. If you miss 2 classes, then your plan is non-compliant. If you don't have reliable childcare, then we look to relatives or licensed foster options. If you correct early, then the file closes. So they would take her, Evelyn breathed. They might, Linda said, simple and true. And that is enough. Let's rehearse the opposite, Serena added. If you call before you're overwhelmed, help shows up. If you build redundancy, there is no single point of failure. If you treat this like the most important job you will ever have, the world will keep you employed as a mother with full privileges. Real life arrived like a pop quiz at 3 a.m., 2 weeks into the plan. A pipe burst in Evelyn's building. Alarms bleated. Hallways breathed cold water breath. Old Evelyn would have driven over in a panic and set the baby on my doormat, finger jamming my bell like a siren. New Evelyn called the plan. Andrew is on his way, she said through chattering teeth. The go bag is packed. Can we come thereafter? Yes, I said, already tying my robe belt. Key is under the frog statue. I'm 5 minutes behind you. By the time I arrived, Emily slept in the bassinet that lives in my guest room for just in case. Evelyn was wrapped in my old college blanket, hair dripping, eyes wide but clear. I almost did it, she whispered. I almost put her down and rang the bell. But you didn't, I said. That difference is the whole world. Dawn laid gold bands on the kitchen tile. Evelyn cupped her hands around a mug and watched the steam like it might speak. You called them because you love her more than you're afraid of me, she said. You staged all of this because you were done staging soft landings. Yes, I said. And because I love you more than I love being liked by you. I thought you were choosing a dentist over us, she murmured. I was choosing to be alive and well when Emily is 10, I said. I was choosing not to teach you that my health is optional. I've treated you like a backup plan, she said. You've treated me like a spare part, I answered, gently. And I am a person. Here is the part people don't think about. Apologies happen in aisles. We were at the grocery store when Evelyn put back glittery headbands and chose bulk wipes and staples. I don't need applause for this, she said. You'll get sleep instead, I promised. She found a mom group that didn't turn babies into content. She unfollowed accounts that made parenthood look like a cosmetics haul. She asked Andrew to meet her halfway instead of expecting him to sprint the last yards for praise. One afternoon, I watched her strap Emily into the car seat with the quiet rhythm of someone who cannot imagine not clicking the last buckle, and my shoulders dropped in a way they hadn't since September. Andrew stopped pretending that 2 weekends a month made him a hero. He learned the bottle routine, the absurd choreography of onesies, the patience of car seat straps. He texted late one night, after tonight I have no more jokes about diaper pails. Respect to parents everywhere. The next morning, he brought a box of onesies and a handwritten apology for mistaking selfies with his child for fatherhood. Evelyn took it like a receipt and said, "Great. Now keep doing this." He did. Ms. On, our basil farming neighbor, waved as we juggled bags and baby. "Consistency looks good on you," she told Evelyn. That simple sentence landed like an award ceremony without speeches. When Tasha came by with final paperwork, her smile looked like a calendar with one less red dot. "You did the work," she told Evelyn. "All of you did." She turned to me. "Boundary work is still work." Evelyn signed the page that said she understood expectations moving forward. The apartment felt larger after Tasha left, as if accountability had been taking up space. "I thought the scary part would be losing Emily," Evelyn confessed, staring at the closed file on the table. "The scary part was almost being the kind of mother who made that possible." Then don't be, I said. And you won't be. We celebrated with soup and the good napkins. We put Emily on a blanket and watched her discover her fingers with such astonishment that we laughed the kind of laugh that cleans a room. We did not talk about court. We talked about pears as first foods and whether she preferred the giraffe teether or the crinkly book. I almost lost this without losing her, Evelyn whispered, holding her daughter like a nurse had just placed a miracle into her arms. You almost lost yourself, I said. I told Evelyn I would share this story with anyone who needed courage to make a hard call inside their family. Tell them I was wrong, she said. Tell them I was defensive and more in love with my plans than my child. Tell them I changed. So I am telling you, I refused to babysit because I had a dentist appointment. My daughter left her baby on my doorstep, rang the bell, and ran. I staged a way-up call with nothing but evidence, education, and love that refused to lie. Then we did the work so the system never had to do it for us. We didn't invent the plan that saved us. We built it from ordinary bricks. Confirm care with a spoken yes, not a bubble of text. Keep 3 backups, real names and numbers, permission already granted. Pack the diaper bag by 9 each night, diapers, wipes, labeled bottles, spare clothes, emergency card. Put appointments on the wall calendar and in a shared digital one. No excuses. When overwhelmed at 2:07 p.m., set a 2-minute timer, breathe, then call someone before doing anything else. Treat parenting class like work. If you miss one, reschedule that week. Do a 5-minute home check monthly, crib placement, monitor plugged, staples in the fridge. Change your language. Replace just this once with is this safe, and mom will fix it with what does the plan say? Schedule your own health first. Healthy caregivers make safer decisions. Celebrate one ordinary win every week. Stickers count at every age. Spring arrived and tested us the way only life can. At the pediatrician's, Evelyn almost minimized a bottle left out too long. She looked at the floor, then at Emily's round face and said, I messed up once. We're timing feeds and using a cooler pack now. The nurse nodded, wrote improved practice, and moved on. At the fire station's car seat check, a firefighter with forearms like old trees slid the clip higher. There, he said. That's the spot that keeps tiny ribs safe. Evelyn watched like he had tuned a priceless instrument. At the mall, a sales sign flashed like a siren and I braced for old choices. Evelyn squeezed the stroller handle, took out her phone, and moved $20 into her Plan B childcare envelope. This, she said, narrating a magic trick, is what I'm buying today. We ate pretzels, and I pretended not to cry. I started giving back in small ways. Once a week I took muffins to the Family Resource Center. For people who hold clipboards while strangers decide whether to hate them, I told Serena. She laughed, the sound of someone accepting gratitude for a profession that rarely invites it. Linda and I presented at a church night called Caring Without Overtaking. We showed parents how to create safety folders and gave them blank sheets. We told grandparents how to love hard while staying out of quicksand. You can feel a room exhale when you hand them a map. On Emily's first birthday, we kept the party small. No rented castle, no influencer balloon wall. We baked a vanilla sheet cake and topped it with sliced strawberries. Emily mashed it with the seriousness of a surgeon and the joy of a parade. In one photo, my doorbell camera sits in the background like a tiny eye. It had once witnessed our worst moment. Now it witnessed an ordinary miracle, a family that didn't split under the weight of its own shortcuts. Late that night, after plates were stacked and the floor swept of sprinkles, I sat in my chair and thought about the afternoon I pressed play on the doorbell footage and watched my daughter abandon her child on my porch. I thought about the phone call that made her cheeks go paper white. I thought about the women, Serena with her courtroom calm, Tasha with her knitted checklists, Linda with her sensible counsel, who held up mirrors until we stopped flinching. Sometimes it takes the whole block to keep one baby off one cold step. People love tidy endings. Ours isn't cinematic. It's better. It's a house with 2 calendars that agree. It's a diaper bag packed at 9. It's a grandmother who finishes a dental plan because she wants to be here for kindergarten. It's a daughter who can say, without dying of shame, I was wrong, and a mother who can answer, without gloating, I know. Now do right. It's a father who shows up on Wednesdays with pajamas and patience. It's a neighbor who waves, basil on her windowsill growing like a small forest. Let me confess something I had kept like a splinter. When Evelyn was 3 and I was 26, I once left her asleep on the couch to run to the laundry room in the basement because the dryer buzzer had been ringing for 7 minutes and the landlord had a rule about leaving clothes in machines. It took 2 minutes, maybe 3. I sprinted back and she had not moved, but the silence was so loud I could hear my pulse in my teeth. I sat on the floor and cried, shaking with what-ifs. Then I promised myself I would not gamble with my child just to keep other people from being annoyed with me. Over time, the promise got buried under long shifts and favors and the 1,000 compromises you make when you're tired. The day Evelyn set a baby on my step, that old promise came up like a root through a sidewalk. I did not tell her to shame her. I told her because repentance needs context and mothers need to see the line they crossed from both sides. We built more context as we healed. We wrote a Bill of Rights for Emily, silly name. Serious intent. Emily has a right to be buckled correctly every time. Emily has a right to be fed on time and with eyes watching. Emily has a right to caregivers who plan before they panic. Emily has a right to boring safety that looks like routines. We stuck it to the wall low enough that someday she can point to it with sticky fingers and say, "That's mine." We redid Evelyn's hallway like it was an airplane cockpit. On a slim shelf by the door, we placed the checklist: phone, wallet, keys, bottles, diapers, wipes, change of clothes, emergency card. We added a laminated little rectangle that reads, "Did you buckle the baby?" The last question is always the most important one. The nanny share we researched together didn't pan out, the hours weren't right, but the research was a victory by itself. Evelyn practiced calling 3 sitters and asking the awkward questions out loud. Are you comfortable with infants? How do you handle nap schedules? Do you have references? Her voice shook at first. By the 3rd call, it didn't. I'm learning to make the right thing easy, she told me. I'm staging my own success. I wanted to put that sentence in a frame. There were dumb fights too, because we are people and not a pamphlet. Once she accused me of judging her for buying a latte. I wasn't. I was judging her for forgetting the diaper bag while buying a latte. Once I accused her of romanticizing struggle when she could just pack the bag at night. She wasn't. She was trying to understand how to keep momentum without me running beside her holding the seat of the bicycle. We apologized. We kept going. Plans are coat racks. You can hang your moods there and keep moving. Summer came soft and green. At the park, Emily learned clapping like it was an art. Evelyn taught her to wave hello to the trash truck and thank you to the crossing guard. Andrew started bringing library books to bedtime, cardboard pages with farm animals, and a familiar rhythm that made everyone breathe slower. He texted a photo of the 3 of them on the floor under a tent of sheets with the caption, "Wednesdays are ours." I saved it to a folder called Evidence of Change. Now and then, the old itch scratched at the edges. A friend of Evelyn's posted a beach week filled with matching outfits and a caption about Grandma always helping out. Evelyn stared at it for too long, phone lighting her face in blue envy. I said, "You can want soft help and still choose strong safety." She set the phone down and picked up a laundry basket. Progress looks like that, a simple substitution, envy for action. One Saturday, Andrew's parents invited everyone to a barbecue. I braced myself for sideways comments about overreacting or family matters staying in the family. Instead, his mother, Belle, a woman with a laugh that feels like watermelon, hugged me and said, "I'm glad you made a fuss. Now my son knows what showing up actually looks like." I exhaled a breath I didn't know I'd been holding for months. On the way home, Evelyn asked, "Do you think people will always look at me like I almost lost my child?" I told her the truth, some will. But the ones who matter will look at you like you changed before they had to change you. We marked small anniversaries that don't go on calendars. 30 days without a last-minute handoff. 60 days with every class attended. 90 days of a diaper bag packed by 9. We let those quiet trophies matter. I went back to the dentist for a routine cleaning and nearly cried when the hygienist said, "You're doing great." Who knew such a small sentence could feel like an award? In the waiting room, Evelyn bounced Emily on her knee while they watched the fish. "We're early," she said, proud of a thing only other parents notice. Early is Trust's favorite word. Sometimes at night the bad clip still tries to play in my head. The pink blanket on my cold step, the car door slamming, the mirror nicking the mailbox. When it does, I overlay it with the new footage. Evelyn knocking with both hands full, diaper bag in one, soup in the other, waiting until I open the door, stepping inside with permission and a plan. The doorbell records both lies and truth. You get to decide which it sees more often. I keep the safety folder in a cardboard box with a lid that used to hold tax returns. Inside, printed stills, the hotline receipt, the safety plan, a copy of the letter from Tasha that said case closed, expectations understood. On top of the stack, taped like a label, is a small paper with 10 lines, our recipe for not scaring ourselves again. I don't open the box much. It's enough to know it's there, the way umbrellas are, most useful because you planned ahead and rarely need them. And here is the satisfying part, the part that would ruin a movie because it is so plain. We got ordinary life back, and we are finally doing it on purpose. No judge. No child removed. No spectacle. Just a mother who stopped mistaking convenience for care and a grandmother who stopped mistaking indispensability for love. A father who learned that presence is a verb. A neighbor who waved at the right time. A few professionals who delivered hard sentences with gentleness. A plan stuck to a fridge with a magnet shaped like an E. If you're reading this with your keys already in your hand, thinking of an easy, dangerous choice, put them down, set a timer for 2 minutes, and breathe. Then call the first person on your list. If you don't have a list, start one today. Borrow ours if you like. We won't mind. That's the grace of a plan. It expands to fit as many people as need it. I am 72. I refused to babysit because I had a dentist appointment. My daughter dropped off her baby and ran. I staged a wake-up call using nothing but evidence, education, and love that would rather be briefly feared than permanently ignored. In the end, nobody took a child away. What got taken were the excuses. What got returned was responsibility, signed and dated. The day Emily took her first steps, she toddled from Evelyn to me and back again, a small, wobbly courier carrying a message we all understood without words. Bridges work both ways. We keep ours in repair now. We oil the hinges. We answer bells without dread. And when the red dot blinks on the camera, it records what I prayed it would the day I made that first call, a family moving slowly, stubbornly, together in the right direction.
My grandmother told me this story. Thanks for watching this video, like and subscribe. Bye bye!